Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Winslow, and that is Carlos, and this is the Creative Whole. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good day, and everybody's day went very well, just like mine.
A blessed day,
Or I
sir.
think it
A blessed day.
very much so. Always a blessed day. So
Yep.
today, what we're kind of going to be going over will be a new Blink, but let me go a little bit into last week. So last week on the Creative Whole podcast, we went over key idea number 2, which is hurry is a threat to our emotional well-being and spiritual life. And key idea number 3, which was new technologies have fundamentally altered our relationship to time and made us busier. So what's up, Carlos? Everything good?
Oh, everything's good, man. Just trying out this shortened version of our podcast, doing a little experimentation.
That's right.
Let's see
And
how
I'm
it
glad
goes. So,
everybody is on this journey, because this
yep,
is always a journey, no matter
we're off
episode
roading.
10. Yeah, episode 10, episode 200. Thank you for being along on the journey. So if you want, you could hit like and subscribe, and you could
If you want.
see what, yeah, if you want. But so you could see our good old journeys that we go on, our ups and downs, everything else. So with that
Mm-hmm.
being said, let's get into this week's episode. So, key idea number 4 from the elimination, or the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Key idea number 4 is trying to do everything and be everywhere is unrealistic and is making us exhausted.
Boy, I tell you. Boy, I tell you.
I'm always exhausted. I'm already exhausted, and I haven't
Man,
even done
I'm
nothing.
exhausted when I wake up.
But it's all right though. We know that we can't be everywhere, even though
It's all good.
in my
That's why
head
we're reading this. That's why we're reading this book.
I do need to stop and smell the roses though. So one question that he did pose was, have you ever thought that maybe all your problems would be solved if you just had more time? So
Absolutely.
yeah. So imagine if we had 10 extra hours a day. I think that's quite a bit. So for me, that would be a work day plus 2 hours. So that'd be a lot of time. Like I could
It's
get
a
so
lot
much
of
more
time.
done. Yeah. And we would think that we could get a lot done, but you probably can't, because you're probably excitedly thinking about everything you could do with that extra time. And therein lies the problem.
Therein
Big
lies the
problem.
problem.
I like that. I like that. Therein. It's a good
Therein. Oh,
phrase.
fancy schmancy. Yes, sir.
It is. I like it. But having more time won't necessarily make us less busy. It just mean that we have more time to be busy, which is weird, because I'm guessing if they did a poll on the whole question of, if you had 10 more hours, like what would you be able to do? Everybody be like, oh, I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to do that, I'd be able to do this, be able to do that. But pretty much what it comes down to is now we just have more time to be busy.
Everybody would double up.
And it's almost like the whole thing of making more money, right?
Yep.
Like you think by making more money, oh, I'll be able to live a better life, meaning you're just probably going to buy like 5 times as much as you make, and you're just going to be that much more in debt,
Stuff.
right?
More stuff.
Yeah,
Just stuff.
literally just stuff. You're just going
Mm-hmm.
to impulse buy even more, and it's probably going to be more expensive stuff that you couldn't afford before, and you're just going to be more in debt.
Now, what
Good
would
old
be
debt.
cool is to get more, get more money and be able to like have more experiences. Because I'm more of
So
a,
yes,
I'd want more experiences, like more traveling and like around the world with my family and stuff like that. Like that would be pretty cool. And to me, that would improve the quality of life.
yes. And in my head, yes, yes, yes to everything that you just said. But in my head, I'd probably be thinking of a million things we'll say I'm going to Hawaii. I'd probably be thinking of a million things that I'm going to have to do that I probably really don't have to do. And that's going to put me in a rush. And then I'm going to hurry through everything. And kind of like what we said last week about, like when you're in a rush, what did I talk about being pretty much snarky to like your family, like heading out the door, being like snarky, snappish, and all this other stuff. That would still probably be me.
You can't be in a hurry in Hawaii.
Oh,
I mean, you can. I
oh,
mean,
I
it is
would.
like it's. I think there's a lot of. I think a lot of people are in a hurry over there. A lot of meth in Hawaii. We're not laughing at the meth there, but y'all know what I mean.
No, I
Meth,
do.
meth is all bad. Care for the
Hey,
families.
but
It's all bad.
you know what? Like, so going back to the whole thing of like being in a hurry, because last week I was talking about like I'll be in a hurry in order to do nothing. So I find myself sometimes being in a rush coming back from work, like coming home, just so I could sit there and almost decompress. I would say decompress and reflect, but it's not reflect. It's just like a thing. Like I'm just
Mm.
going to sit there and think about nothing. Now, if I probably sat down and reflected on something good, that could probably be good. You know what I mean? But I'm like in a rush to do nothing,
Mm.
which isn't definitely the best thing, but so sometimes why people get all crazy is because we live in a FOMO or fear of missing out society. Have you ever thought about
Did
what
you trip
FOMO
out?
is?
Did you trip out the first time you heard FOMO? I did. I was like, FOMO? That's weird. That sounds
So
weird.
yes.
FOMO.
So I think the first time I heard about it was probably maybe 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, because my goddaughter, she was going to Monterey State, I believe, the home of the Otters, I believe. Shout out to the home of the Otters. Um, she was going there, and I think she was taking a class. I don't know if she was writing a paper on it or if she just heard about it in class, but she was talking about like FOMO, and she said that it's like an actual thing. And I'm like, what? FOMO? She's like, yeah, fear of missing out. And I was like, to me, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, I guess it makes sense as a whole, like the fear of missing out. Like, I get that, but like, how is that really a thing?
I guess if
So,
enough people experience it, and it
yeah.
becomes more of a common characteristic of our maybe our youth, or I don't know, with this increased um, speed of lifestyle, I could see
And,
maybe how
and,
that.
and I think what you said, like the whole thing of it becoming something, like the more and more people that almost like, in a sense, jump on board with it, the bigger and bigger it comes. So, like, my biggest thing used to be like mental health. So, like, mental health used to be like thought about like as something bad, like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
like you're crazy or whatever the case may be. But I always thought like if there's more people, and when I mean more people, I mean more like the ones that you call like celebrities and stuff like that, if they started jumping in on the mental health thing, which I'm not saying that they jumped in on it per se, but if they were to jump in on like the whole mental health thing, I think that it would get bigger because more eyes are looking at them. And if they feel like, oh, well, they're experiencing mental health, like, well, it's fine for me too. Even though no
Yep.
matter what, like mental health is mental health and it's very important for everybody that's experiencing it for them to seek help, um, whatever the case may be. Because I believe that everybody, I don't know, in a sense, could probably do some good with some therapy. Just like I'm going to be going to do it. And I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. Like it is one of
Yeah. I
those
think
things. And
it's taking the
go on.
stigma away from it. Just taking the stigma
Yeah.
away from it. Like something's wrong. Like people will go to counseling because their life crashed and burned. Well, no. How about just because you know, mental health is the thinking part of your life. And if there's stress, anger, intense emotions, frustrations, and you're not able to smooth those things out, it's good to find some tips and some techniques and some tools to help you, improve your mental health. So you're in a better flow state. You relate better to your loved ones. You have less stress in relation to work, and you just have a way to navigate around the different ways life pulls on you. And I think that's a good thing.
And I think a big thing is like anxiety creates hurriness, I feel.
Yeah.
And just like right here, it says FOMO is a feeling of anxiety and apprehension that one might miss out on a rewarding experience, social event, or opportunity that others are experiencing. And this fear is often fueled by social media and the constant system of information that makes it easy for people to see what their friends and acquaintances are doing at any given moment. I do definitely feel that social media has brought that on. Um, but at the same time, I don't like the first word that came to my head is I don't demonize like social media because I still feel that it's the person. Um, Social media has maybe just upped it up a notch, but I still feel whatever somebody does on social media because of social media, I think that's just the person. So it's
Yeah,
just
but I, I
their
would s- I,
tendency.
would- I would say too though, like if you're not like if you lack um information or awareness about what mental health is and how to properly relate to social media and how to basically consume social media, because that's what we do. um, Social media is just like a job. There's a culture to it, and then whatever you like and whatever, if you're like immature or you don't understand the responsibility that it takes to be on social media. And if you have like, if you're in high school, that's like everything.
Yeah.
What's your status? Back in the day, it used to be, you're either cool at school or not, but now it's like everyone's looking at your social, like how many followers do you have and stuff
You
like
only
that.
have
Like,
79 likes on that
yeah,
picture.
but for some people, it's real, right? And so I think
No,
it's a
definitely it is.
culture thing, especially with the algorithm, because if until you like if you weren't aware of the algorithm and how all that stuff works, at one point in time you actually got on social media, you could see your friends, you could see your
Yeah.
your family, but now it's not. It's all ads and whatever you liked. And so it's just jacking your mind little by little and feeding you more and more of little things that's kind of putting you into a corner, so to speak.
Yeah. I agree with that. Not a good corner either.
No.
So a lot of times FOMO can cause people to feel pressure to participate in activities or events, even if they're not interested or it may not be in their best interest. And I can see like the pressure to do a certain thing, especially like when we go back to we'll see, I don't even know if this is really necessarily part of FOMO or just social media, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Um, so if you see somebody else getting like 500 likes on something, then you might tend to do the exact same thing. But that's just my idea. So FOMO can also lead to stress and feelings of inadequacy. Um, Definitely stress, definitely anxiety. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole idea of FOMO. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
like too much about FOMO, but what I have like looked at like within this book, and then what I have like heard about it through my goddaughter. Shout out to Naya. Um, I can definitely see how it can be a big issue, especially
I think a lot
for
of it.
people that don't necessarily know themselves.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I think a lot of it's tied to like what's your identity tied to. So like if you're not rooted in your own identity and like rooted strong to handle like all the pressures and um, just all the information and being pulled this way and that way, it's really easy to become unrooted, to pull you up. um, if you care too much about what other people think, or this is what it means to live, and you're seeing everyone's highlight reels, and oh, they're living, oh, they're beautiful, oh, they're this, they're that, they got, and it's like so much fake junk, just
Yeah.
lies, so much lies on there. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Hmm.
and if people are living that life, man, good for them. That's cool. But you just got to be realistic about what's your lane. What lane are you supposed to be in?
Yeah. In a sense, like, I don't know how else to say it, but stay in your lane. Stay in
Yeah.
your own lane. Know your position.
Yep.
And I actually
Yep.
heard that know your position from somebody when I used to work at the prison. One of the inmates said that, like, know your position.
Yeah.
And it's
It
like,
helps a lot.
it does.
It helps a lot. Eliminates a lot of nonsense. Nonsense.
Hmm. So as a result, we try and do everything, see every movie, hear every podcast, travel every country. However, we are not superheroes with infinite resources.
That part. I can say that. Okay, so for me, it's going to be information. I'm an information junkie. So I'm the kind of guy, if I read a book, I see the footnotes and I see all kinds of different books listed, I buy all those books. So
Hmm.
I'm like
I can attest to
following
that.
chains of information constantly, and it's almost gotten compulsive for me at times where I want to stay up to date with what's going on and go deeper and deeper in things I like to study or capture my interest, or I think it's important to know. And so it's like it's come to a point where it has gotten compulsive for me, and I had to like really pray about it because I just need to like chill out and understand that I'm not going to know everything exhaustively, and that there was a little bit of a fear of missing out. And I guess underneath that was, if I don't understand, if I don't know, then that's a liability, and that means I won't be able to, um, I guess, get where I want to go, or be able to contribute how I want to contribute, or I don't want to be ignorant. You know what I'm saying? But I'm
Hmm.
always going to be ignorant. There's always going to be an area where you don't know, and you can't know everything exhaustively. But I
And,
sure the heck tried with my little ADH brain. I sure the heck tried. My wall looking like
uh,
Beautiful Mind. You know what I mean? There's little stickers everywhere.
good
I know
movie.
you
Good
remember
movie
that.
though. So like when you brought up the whole thing about like learning more and more and more and more and more, um, there's that quote by Socrates, I believe, the one that I might butcher it a little bit, but it was pretty much talking about like the more that you know makes you realize the more that you don't know.
Yep. Yeah. I
And
mean,
I'm
I don't know the
like,
quote, but that makes sense.
yeah, but it was something
I
like
know,
that.
like I know,
And
like King Solomon, like said, like with like the writing of many books, or with much wisdom comes much sorrow, and it's like because you're
kind of
never
say,
gonna know enough. You'll never
mm-mm,
know enough, and you have to like rest
just,
in the fact that you're limited.
mm-hmm, we are definitely limited. So we are human with inbuilt limitations that restrict what
Hey,
we'll be able to do in our own lives or in our lives. So, to change our busy, hectic lives, we don't need more time. Instead, we need to commit the limited time we have to focus on doing the things that are most important to us and do them well. I
quality
totally agree with that. Quality,
over quantity.
yeah, I do believe that in some aspects. Some aspects, I believe quantity sometimes can be better. We'll say like social media, throwing out a bunch of posts as our homie. Okay, maybe it's not our homie, but Gary Vee says,
That's your homie.
throw out. Yeah, throw
You got
out.
his number.
Yeah, I did have his text number. Never text me back. Gary, text me back. But yeah. So, but for the most part, in like personal growth, I definitely do think quality is better than quantity, especially like in a family environment. Like me just being with my kid on my phone is not quality. Yes, I might be with my kid sitting with him for like 4 hours, but if I'm not really doing anything with them, Like, is it really doing anything for me? Because it goes back
Right.
to like the leadership book by John C. Maxwell, um, about me being a good leader, like in my family. Because we were talking about that. Like, that's not going to make me a good leader in my family. That's just going to, I can, be able to post stuff on social media like, oh, look at me and my son. We're sitting together, but we're not really doing anything.
Yep.
Like, so
Yep.
I'd rather spend like 2
Quality
hours
time.
of like quality time rather than like 4 to 6 hours of just time. So
Yep.
that's the part. And it's family versus social media. I will always choose family with the whole aspect of quality over quantity. That's just
Yes,
what I'm going
sir.
to say. So, for example, we all have distinct personalities. While one person may be great at handling stress, another gets burned out under the weight of too many deadlines. So, what do you feel? Because I know you have been in a upper management um, type of job. Like, how did you handle, like, because I know what you did. There was deadlines like all over the place. How did you handle that?
Mm, it was definitely stressful, and I had my learning curves depending um, on what phase it was in my position. But all the
Mm-hmm.
while, it was additional stress, not only of timelines and expectations, but learning how to do the work and learning what the expectations were, different lines of communication and things like that. So it's just, yeah, it gets stressful. How do I deal with it? I chose to move out of that. So
You're like,
seriously, like,
peace.
like, like so it was an education for myself, and doesn't mean that I won't ever do it again. I just think the next time I do it, I want to do it for myself, and I won't be doing it for somebody else, because I need the freedom and to be myself and not, carry out someone else's vision. Um, but I would say that I learned that I can do it. I'm capable, and I can be successful at it. But my quality of life, my life satisfaction decreased, because
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do what I love, which is actual being in the trenches, working with people, like hands on.
And you're
So,
relational. That's
and I'm
why.
very relational. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
more
or
happy
another
now.
example. Well, that's good. Happiness is key to
It
everything,
is.
I believe. So, another example that I brought up was that one person may be great at connecting with crowds, and another may be more of an introvert, which I feel like I'm almost a little bit of both. It feels like I'm an introvert, but I like I don't know about crowds, but I just like connecting with people because I'm also relational when it comes
Have
to
you ever
that.
heard of a Have you ever heard of ambivert?
A what?
I believe it's ambivert. So it's
Like,
not it's not an extrovert, it's not an introvert, it's a combination of both.
and that's a what? Ambivert?
I believe it's Ambivert, if I'm not
So do they?
mistaken.
Huh? No, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, let's see. Yep, ambivert, a person whose personality has a balance of extrovert and introvert features.
I
Ambivert.
just learned that. I just learned ambivert. Ambivert.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Love to learn. So we're all blessed with distinct talents which can enable or limit what we do. So, for instance, practicing the violin religiously will get you far. But if you're not endowed with a good sense of pitch, you will not be able to be a professional musician.
Mm,
So it's it's being able, well, in this example right here, it's like being able to get you to a point, but if you don't have a great sense of pitch, you're probably not going to exceed that threshold, I'm guessing.
yep.
Right?
Yeah, I think you can learn the skills. Like someone can learn the actual skills. Like say if let's say a guitar, for example, someone can learn the scales, right? You know, somebody who can basically mimic a song, but they don't have the songs in them. So it's almost like they don't have that spirit
That
of
next
playing
level,
music, that next
almost like
level
that
that
next level.
makes a true musician. Definitely.
I was just thinking, like, wonder what kind of musician I am. I don't even know. I just kind of do the do. You know what I'm
Do the
saying?
do like mountains.
Ooh, you know what? Do the do like mountains. We should make a product called like Mountain Dew. What do you
Mm,
think?
yeah. I think I
You
should get on a
down?
skateboard and drink it and listen to Fleetwood Mac and maybe
I like that. I like
you
that.
know what I'm talking about? That dude Dogface or whatever with the cranberry
Cranberry.
drink. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he
That
got
went
like a
viral.
truck and yeah.
Like 275 quadrillion billion views. That guy?
Yeah, like instant fame from getting stoned riding a skateboard and
How about
drinking
he was just
cranberry
happy?
juice.
How he was just happy to drink cranberry juice. Maybe that was his first time and he was super happy. And happy
Yeah.
leads to everything. Just saying. So
All
some of
right.
us have the advantage of being
My
born into
bad.
an affluent home,
My bad.
born into an affluent home, which will mean that we can afford or they can afford to commit time to a good education. But those of us who come from a less affluent background might not have the time for education and might have had to quit school to help support our families. And it seems like I don't know about like now how big that is, but I feel like I don't know. Back in the day, that was a little bit bigger. Um, type of thing like, oh well, my family can't I don't know, make rent, they can't pay
I
for
think it's
food,
I think
bills.
I think it's still a pretty common thing,
You
especially
think so?
yeah, like when we worked, in Avenel and like certain areas like that where a lot of the kids had to, you know,
Sure,
stay
there were some.
home, you know. So
There were
I think
some.
there's a lot of that still, where the kids are an integral part of making the family work for survival.
So coming from like a less affluent background and stuff like that, having to quit school and stuff like that. So those limitations might sound very negative. However, being realistic about the things which constrict what we do is very empowering. So, what would you say really quick on like why do you think it would be quick or very empowering? I guess I should say.
Why do I think it would be empowering?
Hmm. I
I
think it's
think
one of those things. Are going.
I think that it can be empowering through you embracing it and you accepting those limitations. Not that you can't have ambition or strive to um, go to another level in your lifestyle or quality of life or having more resources, things of that nature. But ultimately, if you can find some acceptance in your limitations and find contentment, right? It doesn't mean you have to eliminate the desire for more, but there's still a sense of contentment. Um, you're winning. You can, like you said, do well in those areas.
And I think being content is very empowering because that's one thing that I used to like strive for like a lot is to be content. Like, what would it feel like to be content, to be okay with whatever situation that you're in, and figuring that out? Like, I think that would be very empowering. I think the other thing that would be very empowering is like you're kind of saying, like almost in a sense, like owning it and knowing that you can do it.
Hmm. Definitely.
Because knowing that you could do something like is just very empowering, like in general, I would think. So it can take away some of the pressure of trying to do everything and be everywhere, like a superhuman,
Hmm.
like we'll say like an Iron Man or something, Superman,
Yep.
somebody like
Doing
that.
it all.
Yep. I'm not
That's a
about
lot
that.
of that's a lot of pressure to feel like you got to do it all.
Oh,
A
I
lot of
can only
self-imposed
imagine.
pressure that turns into a stressful life. You know, then you end up being really
Especially,
hard on yourself. And I don't know about you, but I've been very hard on myself, and I've had to learn to show myself some grace, some compassion, and be more easygoing instead of being such a taskmaster on myself and you know punishing myself for not being able to be all things to all men all the time. It's just there's limitations there, and I've come to accept who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin now.
and I think that almost ties into this whole hurrying thing of trying to do everything and to be everywhere. Because like I was saying, like in the beginning, like trying to do everything, being everywhere, it's making us exhausted. Once you get exhausted, either physically or a lot of times for me, it's mentally, I just kind of like shut down. Like, cause I'm like, I don't know where to start. And so I just shut down.
People will burn
And
out.
that I think that's definitely like part of the mental aspect of it.
Hmm. I
And
think especially in some of the fields that we've worked in, there's what's called what compassion fatigue,
yes,
burnout, and that's just doing too much, or like working in the social work field, in the helping field. Um, there's a never ending pool of problems. They
nope,
never end. If it's the kids, it's the parents, it's the another kid, another parents, one bad situation, another
just
bad
gonna go ripple
situation.
effect, ripple
And
effect,
you literally can only do so much. And if you don't respect the fact that you are limited, you're going to burn out. You're going to have a very,
very
very
quickly.
challenging, yeah, very quickly, because you're not going to be able to fix it all.
I
And
mean, there
yet
might be like some out there
you
that
want to
can,
fix it all?
but for the most part, yeah. Well,
Really? I don't think
I guess
so.
all that's on their plate at the time.
I think I guess what I'm referring to is more of the heart attitude and expectations. Like if you're getting emotionally drained and, really um, absorbing the stress and the secondary traumas and stuff like that because you're so emotionally invested in helping these people. That's going to bite you in the butt if you don't learn how to you know, pace that out
Okay,
and make sure you do a lot of self care for sure. And in order to
I
do
think it's
that,
pacing it.
you're gonna have to say it's boundaries. At some point in time, you have to say no. If you say yes and never say no, you're a wreck waiting to happen. You're gonna fall apart.
Eventually, yeah, eventually you are going to fall apart. Um, so it can push us to make conscious choices about what we really want to do with our lives within the limitations we have. This isn't infinite, so we'd better make the most of it.
Hmm.
So some human limitations can be seen as a gift from God in several ways rather than a source of FOMO, fear of missing out, in case we forgot about that. I don't know if you forgot what FOMO stands for, but just want to let you know. There you go, Carlos. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So instead of fearing our limitations and feeling left out, we can embrace them as part of God's design for our lives and use them as opportunities to grow closer to Him and to others.
Amen.
And
Amen.
this is like
I'm feeling
and
that.
I think this comes down to a big part of being a relational person. So being closer with God, being closer to others, and I think like having good relationships helps things. And I'm not talking about like significant others. I'm just talking about in general, like having a quick passerby relationship with somebody, even if it's just a smile, like creating some sort of relation with them. Because a good smile for somebody that might be down in the dumps or something, that can make their day, that can make their week. We just never know. And so
Mhm.
I feel like something that can help us to eliminate hurry is by what we've talked about before, stopping and smelling the roses, reflecting on what we feel we can do in a meaningful way, because I feel like a lot of things need to be in a meaningful way with intent. Um, and I feel like both of us, we're relational people and we want do do good. And I feel like when I'm in a conversation, even if it's somebody that I don't really know, but if I'm having a good like discussion with them, I feel like that right there slows me down, because I think the overarching thing is me wanting to build relationships, me wanting to help people. So I feel like that almost takes priority for myself over being in a rush. So I could be in a rush, like, man, I need to get here, I need to get here, I need to get here, I need to get here. But all of a sudden, let's say I'm at Costco or something, and somebody I don't really know is having a discussion with me for whatever reason, like for some reason that will slow me down, because it's what I feel like I am here for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so I feel
definitely.
like
What you care
it slows
about
me. Yeah.
ultimately.
Hmm. So here are some ways to consider our limitations as a gift, not a curse, but as a gift. So human limitations remind us of our mortality and our need for God's guidance and strength. And
What
I
does that
and I
mean to
think
you, Winslow? How
so.
do you interpret that?
So like the first thing that I was, because I was looking at them like a little bit ago, and for me, like God is a priority for me, even though my actions don't always show it, but in my heart, it's God is my priority. So it helps me to reflect,
Whoa.
right? Or is that what
Yep.
you're thinking? Opposite of what I was thinking?
No, I
And
think
I
that
think, go on.
I think those human limitations, they do remind us of our mortality because it, it's like the scripture says, he teaches us to count number our days, you know, and so we know we only have so much time per day, per week, per year. And especially as you get older and see the grays kicking in and your body starting to feel it a little bit more, you become more, or let me speak for myself. I have become more conscious of time. If there's one thing that I value more than anything that I don't like being wasted, it's my time. Where before I used to give it away more freely, and I was kind of a bad steward of my time because I just cared about working with people, talking with people, and stuff like that. But then I realized there's some people who could care less about, sucking the life out of you, and there's no ROI on the relationship. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I just had to be better at how to use my time because I only have one life. And so that's where God's guidance and strength comes in, where through prayer, I ask him to show me where to invest my time, who to invest my time in.
And that is definitely a good one. So through human limitations helps us prioritize what truly matters in life. And this one I hear, first thing I thought was like reflection. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because without reflection, you can't really dig deep into, almost in a sense, like your psyche in a sense. Um, because I feel like if you could get down to what truly matters in life, I feel that is part of the elimination of hurry. Just like I was talking about earlier, like I could be in a rush, all of a sudden, like I start talking to somebody that I don't even know, but we're having good conversation, um, and that slows me down, because what truly matters in life for me is having that human connection, whether I know you, whether I don't know you, but having that human connection.
Definitely.
Right, right. So human limitations inspire creativity, resilience, growth, and connection with others. Big part right there for me is connection with others. Um, Creativity is also a good one. Now, I don't necessarily know how a human limitation will help me with my creativity, but what I do
No?
know is me being unmotivated does not help me with my creativity.
Okay. Well, I think the first thing I think of is when I have limitations. Okay, so you've worked at a prison before. How creative are those men?
Yeah. Very.
Very. Why are they so creative?
time
time and limitations,
limitations.
right?
So
And
in that sense, yes. So
and what's
different lens that I was looking through.
mm-hmm. Hey, what's that saying? Is necessity is the mother of innovation,
Yep.
or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
It's something like
it's
that
what, yeah, when you have very little to work with, you work with what you got, and then you find all the ways to work
in
with the
order to
little
make it
bit you
happen.
got. And
Mm-hmm.
then pretty soon
And
you're making stingers and you're fishing and you know.
you're, you're pretty brilliant. But but then also that's what's good about like this podcast with you is because you can bring out other things that I kind of maybe I've thought about, but not thought about it in that situation. And that's good. And that's why I'm blessed to have, well, technically you are next to me, but not literally physically next to me. But that's why it's good to have someone that I trust and somebody that I have good relation with, is because they could bring out the better in me because I'm always willing to learn.
Peanut butter and jelly,
Like
my friend. Peanut butter and jelly.
two peas in a pod. So
Hmm.
human limitations point us to the ultimate fulfillment in heaven. So what do you mean by that?
Um, Once again, goes back to the mortality, and I think ultimately, um, our heart, so our heart is much bigger than our actual resources of time and energy. So it's like
Yep.
that's why people like say for example, you know, people who like, oh, I want to be a rock star or I want to be famous when I grow up. And then what happens to the famous person when they get it? They try to they try to live like that rock star, right? Going all over the world, filling their life with all the experiences. A lot of times there's never enough and they can't handle it and they're broken inside and mental health suffers and
A
ultimately
lot.
you're not made you're a human being that's only made to handle so much and when we go against those limitations, you know, it's like a rubber band that stretches too far, you know, eventually it snaps back and it pops you in the face because you're disrespecting the limitations,
And it
you're
hurts.
disrespect yeah, and it hurts, and that's God's communications to you to saying, hey, you're stretching things too far. And ultimately, I think limitations are one way of discerning God's will for your life, at least for the season that you may be in. And that was really
Amen.
helpful for me, you know, to understand, you know what, I'm asking God for certain things in my life, or I'm pushing for a promotion at work, or I'm trying to start a business, or I'm trying to stretch myself in this area, and it's just not working. And I keep butting my head up against this wall or feeling frustrated. And sometimes that's God's way of saying that my
Pump the
will is for
brakes.
you to, yeah, pump your brakes, stay right here, grow in this area, grow where you're planted.
I have you here.
Yep.
Obey me here. I forgot where I
Yep.
heard that from, but I have that on my wall. Obey me here.
Yes, sir. Yep. Do your part.
That's right. So one thing that I want to do, I want to say is thank you very much for sticking around. Hopefully you're able to listen to some of our insights on the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John C. Comer. And just to let you know, there will be a link at the bottom in the description if you want to buy this book. Um, what I have seen within this book, there is a lot of good points to it. The biggest one for me is the whole like spiritual health, mental health, because what whether you're a believer or not, um, mental health is everywhere for everyone, and I feel if your mental health is down, a lot of things are going to be down. Not necessarily like in a depressed state, but your productivity in whatever you're doing, maybe with your family, maybe at work, it can definitely take a take a turn for the worst. Um, and I feel like going back to what I've said before, to stop and smell the roses, to just slow it down. When you're in a rush, slow it down. One thing
Slow it
that I
down.
know, one thing that I do know with my physical health anyway, if I'm in a rush, my heartburn kicks into like a level 10 out of, I will say like a 12 out of 10. Like it gets like really bad. So I also need to practice the whole thing of slowing it down a little bit, slowing it down, reflect, smelling the roses, and doing
That's why
everything
God gave us
else.
Sabbath.
Yeah. Any last words?
I just want to say thank you guys for listening. And, if anything, just, you know, as far as this book goes, take the time to slow down. Sometimes it's hard. And I 100% get the being addicted to hurry and, going, and just never stopping. But you know what matters is the people who are in front of you. What matters is the little things in life. And maybe
That's
one of
correct.
you just needs to hear that, and just remember that it's all about the people you love, because when the day comes when you're maybe on your deathbed or whatever, you're not going to say, I wish I spent more time at the office.
Nope. I won't anyway. You
No,
might.
most people,
I
most
won't.
people, no, I won't.
So also just remember you cannot be everywhere at the same time.
Nope.
So
Respect your
slow it down.
limitations. They are a gift.
Yep. Slow it down. So join us next week as we talk about how to have a meaningful, unhurried spiritual life. We need to emulate Jesus's lifestyle. So with that being said, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Creative Whole Podcast. Peaceums.
Talk to you guys later.
We out.